There are still places on this planet that have not been stood on. Not because no one has tried, because something in the structure of this land, its altitude, its law, its silence, has refused every approach without exception or apology. Gangkhar Puensum rises to 7,570 meters in the eastern Himalayas of Bhutan. It is the highest mountain on Earth that no human being has ever reached the summit of. 4 separate expeditions attempted it. All 4 failed. None of them made it above the upper ridgeline. In 1994, the government of Bhutan closed the mountain entirely. Not temporarily, permanently. This is a film about what happens at the boundary between human ambition and a landscape that does not accommodate it. Gangkhar Puensum sits on the border between Bhutan and Tibet at a point where 3 different maps disagree on the exact location of the summit. The first serious attempt came in 1985. A British expedition reached the base and could not establish a viable route. The weather system that defeated them was not a storm. It was a sustained atmospheric condition the team described as unlike anything recorded in their combined expedition history. A second team arrived the following year. Austrian climbers with Himalayan experience across 5 continents.
Ropes are solid?
They turned back at the same elevation as the British team. Their expedition report noted compass irregularities in the upper approach zone that could not be explained by known magnetic field data for this region. Two more expeditions followed in 1986. Neither reached the altitude of the first 2.
All right, let's try the traverse on the left.
The mountain had not been climbed. It had also not been understood. At 7,570 meters, Gangkhar Puensum is higher than any peak in Europe, Africa, North America, South America, or Antarctica. In any other location on Earth, it would be among the most famous mountains that exists. In Bhutan, it is not discussed as an achievement waiting to happen. The Bhutanese relationship with high altitude is not recreational. The peaks above 6,000 meters are understood as inhabited, not metaphorically. The deities that occupy these elevations are part of the functional religious and governmental architecture of the country. Disturbing them has consequences that Bhutanese law takes seriously. In 1994, mountaineering above 6,000 meters was banned across the entire kingdom. The ban was not framed as environmental protection. It was framed as respect for what lives there. The mountain has not been touched since. The expeditions that attempted Gangkhar Puensum did not fail from lack of experience. The 1985 British team included climbers with successful ascents of peaks above 8,000 meters. The 1986 Austrian group had completed first ascents on 3 other Bhutanese summits in the same season. What the archival reports share is a specific category of language. Words like unresolved, unexplained, and conditions not consistent with elevation profile appear across all 4 accounts. The topographic maps used by each expedition were drawn from different survey data. None of them matched each other above 6,500 meters. The mountain's upper geography as mapped, described 4 different physical realities. In cartographic terms, Gangkhar Puensum is one of the least accurately mapped high peaks on Earth at its summit elevation. The Bhutanese government had access to all 4 expedition reports before the 1994 ban was announced. Whether the ban was a response to the failures or to something in those reports that has not been made public is not a question that Bhutanese officials have been asked to answer. Bhutan is the only country on Earth where the constitution includes a requirement that 60% of the land remain under forest cover permanently. This is not an environmental policy. It is an expression of a governing principle that the non-human world has standing. The mountains above 6,000 meters are home to protective deities called Yul-la. Each peak has its own. They are not symbolic figures. They are understood as active presences that interact with the landscape in ways that human movement can disrupt. When the government banned mountaineering, it was acting within a framework where the mountains are not resources or challenges. They are residences. The communities that live within sight of Gangkhar Puensum have known this without any need for legislation. Lunana district, which sits in the mountain's northern shadow, is one of the most remote inhabited places in Asia. The nearest road was 8 days of walking until recently. The population is under 3,000 people. The Luna people of this district have maintained agricultural terraces at 3,800 meters for over 1,000 years. Their calendar is structured around the mountain's seasonal behavior. The mountain is not a backdrop to their lives. It is a participant.
Secure those ropes now.
When climbers arrived in 1985 with equipment, permits, and coordinate systems, their maps described empty geography. The geography was not empty. The prayer flags on the high passes are not decorative. They are a boundary system. Each flag occupies ground as deliberately as a marker post. Below the flag lines, human activity is appropriate. Above them, it requires negotiation with what lives there. The 4 expeditions did not understand they were trespassing. That is a different category of failure from equipment, or weather, or altitude. The 1994 ban resolved the question of trespass by removing the possibility entirely. Gangkhar Puensum does not have a base camp anymore. There is no established approach route. The path has not been walked in over 30 years, and in this altitude and terrain, 30 years of disuse returns a route completely to the mountain. Every other mountain of comparable altitude has been climbed. K2, Kangchenjunga, Lhotse, Makalu, Choi Oyu. All of them summited. Most of them summited dozens of times. Gangkhar Puensum remains at 0. This is not an oversight. It is not a gap waiting to be filled by better equipment or a future expedition with improved permits. The Bhutanese government has been asked, through diplomatic channels, whether the ban will ever be reconsidered. The answer has been consistent across 3 decades and 4 governments. It will not. There is a specific category of place that resists the framework of achievement. Not because achievement is impossible, because achievement is the wrong framework. The mountain does not present itself as an objective. It presents itself as a boundary. The distinction matters more than it might appear from below. At 7,570 meters, the air contains roughly 40% of the oxygen present at sea level. Every physiological system in the human body degrades at this altitude. Judgment, coordination, the ability to assess risk accurately. The 4 expeditions that attempted this summit were not defeated by the mountain's physical difficulty. They were defeated at an elevation that every other comparable peak allows climbers to pass through. The mountain stopped them at the same point each time. Not at the summit, below it. What the 4 expedition reports share, beyond the language of the unexplained, is a consistent altitude, 6,500 meters. No team recorded progress above it. The greatest luxury in the world that currently exists is not access. It is the knowledge that there are places access has not reached. Gangkhar Puensum will not be climbed. The Bhutanese government will not change this position. The mountain's deities, by the accounting of the people who have lived below them for 1,000 years, will not permit it. Whether you accept that framework or not, the outcome is the same. The summit remains exactly as it was before maps were drawn for it. Before expeditions organized around it, before the word unclimbed became something that required an explanation. The mountain is not waiting. It is not a record suspended in anticipation of a future attempt. It is a place that functions without human presence and has done so for the entirety of its geological existence. We document places like this not because we intend to reach them. We document them because the act of reaching is not always the point. Some summits are better understood from below. Some boundaries exist because crossing them would cost something that cannot be recovered. The wind on the upper ridge of Gangkhar Puensum has never been interrupted by a human voice. It continues.